Hey, welcome back to the garage, everyone. Your home for the most popular, least watched automotive enthusiast channel on YouTube. This weekend, we're going to finish up the rear end in our old C3 Corvette. So you guys stick around. You're not going to want to miss that. All right, we're back. I think for this next section of video, I'm just going to go ahead and do an overdub or a narrate. I had to get this car knocked out this weekend, and I just didn't really want to take the time to film, so I apologize for that. But so I just sped it up, and I figured, well, I'll do a narrate later on. And that's kind of the way I'll do this this side of the car. So right now I'm fiddling with the torque arm, or trailing arm as they call it, trying to get that bolt in there, that pivot bolt in there, and I couldn't see. I went to O'Reilly and got a light, and that's the new light on my head there. That bolt, it took a little while to get that bolt situated in there because it's just a fiddly situation, hard to get in there. Use magnets, pick tools, grasp tools, anything you can get your hands on to slip that bolt through that hole and get it aligned. And eventually you can get it in there. So I think I'm just about done with that little exercise. Yep, there we go. And we're going to get the castle nut on there, and just loosely. Now we're going to put our shims in. We've got our inside stack on the it goes on the left hand side of the torque arm there. That left hand stack of shims went in without too much trouble, really. I found that if you bevel the end of them on the bench grinder, that makes it a little easier. Now the outside stack was a lot more challenging. Just a real tight situation, and I got my jack out and tried to lift things up a little bit, lift the arm up a little bit to try to help the situation. But that outside stack was really tight, mostly due to the polyurethane bushing kit from Energy Suspension. The end cap washers on either side of the bushing, they're just too loose. They don't, and if they slip out, you have to fiddle with them way up inside the cavity up in there to get everything to line up. And trying to get that shim in there with that situation is just a real bear. And as you can tell, I'm just basically hunting for every tool like in my arsenal to try to finagle the outside shim to find its way up in there around that bolt. And there's that one little shim right there. I decided to not put it in because it's like, I don't know, it's really thin. I was like, that's not going to make a difference. So the larger one I put in there, but the one that why they even bother with that little tiny one, I have no idea. So we're getting ready to connect the torque arm up to the leaf spring now. The passenger side, the alignment was a little more challenging than the right-hand side, but and you have to lift the spring up to do this work. So, and right here you want to be careful and not lift the car up too much because you don't want to knock it off the lift. Comically, I lifted the trailing arm up with jack like 10 times. I was like, well, I won't have to do that again. Yep, you got to do it again. I should have just left it alone, but I'm stubborn. So eventually I found out, I said, well, I got to get this little bracket in there for the sway bar. Need to get that bolted into place, and that'll keep the head of the leaf spring bolt from tweaking off to the side too much when we want to install it. So I'm going to go ahead and get the bracket for the Gymkhana suspension bolted down there, and get our bolt in for the spring, and jack it up a little bit more, and we're pretty much done with that. Cool. You have to put a C-clamp there to keeps the wood from sliding. And let's see, what am I doing here? I'm taking the cover off the bottom of the differential. I can't recall why. I think, oh yeah, I'm gonna get ready to put the strut rod, the passenger side strut rod on. Also, right there, you see that? I noticed that there was a leak from from the filler plug on the differential. So I tightened that up a little bit. Wipe down the gear oil. And we're getting ready to put the strut rod in. This is the cam. I'm going to get the cam bolt through there. The cam bolt is used for the alignment, the camber alignment of the rear wheels. And got to tap it into place gently. Yep, here we go. Lift the spring up again one more time to make our job a little easier. And nothing like a hammer to coax things into submission. You could tweak the cam a little bit, trying to get that hole to line up on the outside there. And let's see. Oh yeah, I got the spud wrench out. Carport Forge gave me that thing. Try to line that hole up there. And a hammer and a spud wrench. I don't know why I turned my light off. I got my headlight on, so no big deal. There we go. Finally got that support rod through there. That rod connects the shock to the strut rod. And so getting the shock situated there is a little bit of a challenge, getting that bolt hole to line up just right. The upper shock bolt, the nut that goes on it, is actually quite thin because the space in there is pretty tight. And I think we're about done with the strut rod here. And oh, I'm sorry, we're on the shock now, aren't we? Yep, we're on the shock. So I had to take the shock back out and try to get that upper bolt in there again. It took a while to get that upper bolt hole lined up, and you got to drop your tools 18 times, and eventually you'll get out. You'll come to the you'll do it. And there we go, bottom of the shock. This is really boring commentary. Those are KYB shocks out of Japan. I guess they'll do okay. I don't know why it took me so long to get that bolt lined up in that shock, but it is kind of a challenge actually. There we go. Finally got her in there. And the nut is in a really tight spot. It's just it's a real hassle. Sitting here scratching my head trying to figure out what the next step's going to be. And oh yeah, all right, so now I'm getting ready to put the half shaft in, and I'm testing the bolts that where it connects into the spindle support, and make sure they can screw in without any problems. The universal joints are pretty tight here, and I had to take it down, mess with it a little bit, and tap on it and get them to loosen up a little bit there, you know. So it takes a little bit to try to get this thing in there and get it situated, but eventually you'll have to, I'm going to lift it back up again. There you go. Lift it up again, dummy. You should have lifted, just let it stay up there. And getting the outside portion past the spindle nut was a bit of a challenge, so you have to raise the wheel up quite a bit to get that to work properly. And I'm getting the U-joint connected up to the diff here finally. That's a Spicer U-joint on the inside near the diff. All the rest of them are Moog. And, the Moog, they were terrible. They were hard to install. I fiddled with them for hours. And the Spicer U-joint literally took me just minutes to get it installed. So from now on, it's going to be Spicer U-joints for me. So I had to reposition my wood block there so I could get a better lift on the... There we go. We got the axle in place now. Get our bolts installed here. These are 70 foot-pounds on these guys. These guys have these like French lock things. And I'm not sure why they did that as opposed to just simple lock washers, but whatever. So it took a little while to get those tightened down. One of the French locks broke on me, and I took it over to the metal bench and I welded it back. I'm not sure if it'll stay or not, but anyway, once I got this half shaft in there and tightened down, the motion on everything was just like butter. I was able to grab the pinion side, and with just very minimal effort, I was able to turn both wheels with just one hand. It was like butter, really. It was nice. With no sound. The bearings sounded, well, they didn't make a sound at all, really. Anyway, you get the point. I got the Gymkhana suspension button up there. It looks like I'm all done. Except for one, let's see, what am I doing here? It's one minor tweak, I think. I must have forgot about something. Let's see, what am I doing? Why are you moving so fast? Oh yeah, I'm just tightening up the strut rod there at the bottom there. All right, we're back. It's the next day. That little episode took me about 5 hours, and then I came back in here this morning and went ahead and torqued down everything underneath the rear suspension. The only thing we have left to do in the back end is, well, I say only thing, we've got to reinstall the brakes, the parking brake assembly, to include the cable. We're going to clean up the cable assembly as well. It's already cleaned up. It's over there. It's hanging up over there. It's all cleaned up, got all the rust off of it, got all the grease off of it. Of course, I have to grease it back up. And then the parking cable hanging down back there is pretty, basically there was a huge oil leak from the engine, right, from the rear main, and just oil all over the place. So during all of this, as I go forward, I'll have to degrease underneath the car. Also, I've got to put the spare tire carrier back in. Got to clean it up. I'm not sure I'll paint it. Might be a little over the top maybe, but you never know with me. So let me get you in here and show what we've got going on here. All right, so I've got everything torqued to spec, and we have cotter pins. Basically, this is just a mental check for myself. Cotter pin, torqued. Well, this actually isn't torqued. You just expose the cotter pin hole and put that in. This is 75. This is 50. And the upper one up there is 30. The upper shock bolt is 30. I forget what these are. They're about 30, 25 to 30 a piece. So those are all done. I think these are really light, like just 10 pounds or something like that. All of those are tight. Those are tight. Tight. Cotter pin. 50, 30. These are 75. And the nuts on the inside are 15. All this stuff was torqued before we put this thing back in the car. I'm gonna fire Moog U-joints. No more Moog U-joints for me. This is a Spicer. It literally took me 2 minutes to put this Spicer greasable U-joint in. Fantastic product, made in USA. Heads and tails above in quality and ease of installation from the Moog. Just do yourself a favor. When you're gonna put a Corvette together, C3 or whatever, you need some U-joints, go get Spicer, okay? Just save yourself the trouble. I fiddled with these for hours, literally for hours. It was ridiculous. This guy here is torqued. So all in all, the rear end looks pretty good. Let me show you what we got going on with the brakes. Comically, when I was taking the, I called myself taking the passenger side brake caliper off, I got my impact gun on the wrong bolts. And it was the bolts that hold the caliper together. So I was like, oh crap. So I didn't do that to the driver's side, wherever it is. But I guess no big deal, really. All I have to do is just clean it up a little bit. And there's just one passage, this port right here. And that's it. You don't need, there's no fluid here or here. Just the only place where fluid passes is this one port right here. And I just need to replace that O-ring. Clean this up, replace that O-ring, bolt it back together, and call it done. Because there's nothing wrong with these. These are remanufactured Delco Moraine original units, you know. Says it on here somewhere. Where is it? Yeah, there it is. These are reman Delco Moraine. I think I got them at O'Reilly or someplace back in the day. I got them, I don't know when. Probably 10, 12 years ago when I did the brakes on this car. Plenty of meat still left on the pads. Those will go back on the car. There was no issues with the brakes on the vehicle at all, not really. So And we're running .5 brake fluid as well. So that is, I'll just do that off camera. There's no reason to waste time on this really. Nothing special. Parking brake assembly, we'll have to get that on here. I'll go ahead and make a light-hearted attempt at a parking brake adjustment because, you know, I hardly ever use it. So, but I guess I better do it right because the one time I want to use it, I'll be mad if it doesn't work. So, yeah. Everything takes time. Here's the other end of the parking brake cable. It is very, very greasy and oily. And it's everything underneath here is just coated with a layer of oil from the engine, which is fine. You know, it's not like it's hurting anything. All right, up next, I'm gonna go ahead and start working on these brakes, so I'll be back before you know it. All right, there you go, rebuilt. New O-ring, and these caliper bolts are 60 foot-pounds, by the way, if you didn't know that. So, and then I just put some brake caliper paint on it, put the pads back in, and boom, there you go. And I got the driver's side sitting over here. It's not quite as pretty, but whatever. We'll put them back on the car. I'll need to compress that piston before I do. And we'll get these back on the car. If they do fine, we'll run them. If not, we'll replace them. All right, let's go ahead and get our rotors on. And I'm gonna go ahead and run this parking brake out a little bit, I think. Which way does it go? There we go. Twist it that way to make it go out like that. Not rocket science. Let's see, was that too much? No, let's see. Let's pull the brake lever and see what it does. Yeah. And I'm just moving it with my finger, clearly. I'm gonna call that good. And these things came riveted on here from the factory. I took the rivets out, clearly. Up next, I'm gonna go ahead and reinstall the calipers. All right, let's see if we can't figure this thing out here. Which side was which? I don't guess it really matters. Which side was what was on. Now, if it gets swapped around, it was time for a change. Now, this thing here, there's a spring right here. And this thing attaches to that spring. This goes over that some kind of way. Yep. All right, cable goes in that little doohickey right there. And then that goes over that, like that. And then the nut goes on the end. Like that. That's good enough for now. And then we run this spring back through here. Hopefully that won't be hard. Not a high tension spring, but I'm gonna need a pair of pliers, I think. I got into this mode where I started putting my tools up in between little sections of my projects to try to keep my shop more clean. And you have to do a little more filing, as they say, but things don't get quite as out of hand as they usually would. Let's see. All right, there we go. We got that back on now, like that. Now we're gonna take these two and put them on either side. All right, so now you have this rigid section here, and it goes into this bracket right there. It's got two holes in it. I assume it just made the brackets the same so that, you know, you could put either bracket on either side. Let's see. Oh, they could put the cable up in there and slip that through there. Okay, now I need a clip for that right there. So, where's my clip? Clippy. I think I left one of them up here on the arm. I probably lost it. I got one over here, but I don't know where the other one is. I need more than one, that's for sure. I need like 4, and I've got one. So anyway, so this goes right up there like that. That doesn't fit too good. Oh, it goes in the back, that's why. Yeah, there we go. There we go. All right, easy peasy. Now I just need 3 more clips. Let me go find them. All right, I found 2 more of them. That leaves 1 missing. Yeah, that popped out. That's par for the course. I wonder if these are the same length. Let's see. Are they the same length? Yep, they're the same length, so it doesn't matter which side you put it on. There we go. This clip's a little ganked up. I gotta bend it, I think. Yeah, I need something for that. I need a hammer. Let's get a hammer. Got the car a little too high in the air. That ain't working. That thing stopped, boy. All right, so I got the clips in the parking brake cable. I went to O'Reilly and picked up a similar type of clip. It doesn't look like the factory one, but it works. I couldn't find the other one. Probably go someplace like Top Flight Automotive, where they sell a lot of Corvette parts, and buy the proper factory looking clip for it at a later date. But for right now, I'm not going to worry about it too much. So how do we do this? Got to get this cable in here. And since the other end isn't connected, we should be able to just come in there like that. And then got to have the spring there some kind of way. Yep, there we go. It just sits down in there. And if we pull on the parking brake cable, I'll just yank on it from this side. And I don't know if it moved or not. Not really important right now. I'm just trying to get everything in here and done properly. I believe that's right. Can't recall if there was a something that went on the cable, or if that was just spring tension that held it. There's a little doohickey right here. That's a technical term. I'll look at the book later. I just want to get everything kind of in place right now though. So, all right, let me go ahead and do that on the same side. I'll be right back. All right, so there's the parking brake cable. That's that different clip I had to put in there. And we got her all recombobulated there, cleaned up quite a bit. Got some new grease on the cable here. That spring is nice and clean. Threads on this are clean. Got some tension back on it. And I didn't clean up much back here. I was like, well, you know what? I'm getting off in the weeds there. So we got this guy reattached. And got that part reattached. So parking brake is done. I'm probably gonna have to tweak the shoes a little bit, but at a later date. Not gonna worry about that right now because we got much bigger fish to fry on this car. Let me go ahead and get the brake rotors on next, then we'll be done. All right, there we go. We got brake calipers on. We got, let's see, we got the hard lines cinched down really good. Got the clips in there. Got that tightened up. Yep. Got these caliper bolts tightened down to 70 foot-pounds on both sides. Again, this is for mental note. 70, tight. That caliper there is a little dirty where my hands got on it, but that's all right. Only thing I have to do now is tighten this guy right here. That's the pivot bolt for the torque arm. They call this a torque arm. They don't call it a trailing arm in the book. I don't know why. Anyway, I need to do this with the car on the ground. And I'm not gonna do that right now. I'm just gonna go ahead and call it a day. Also, I made a mistake. I torqued these down. I should have torqued those down with the wheels, with the car on the ground, with the weight of the suspension. So I'll have to take that cotter pin back out, loosen it a little bit, lower the car, redo it. You get the story. So, but all in all, I'm going to call this a win for the weekend, and we are done with the rear end on our old Corvette. Minus putting the spare tire carrier back in. I'm just going to do that during the week sometime at night or something. And that's pretty boring, actually. The only challenge, I think, is going to be the lock. I couldn't get the lock to release. I had to basically unbolt it. So I've got it soaking over there on the bench, and maybe I can get the lock to free up. But I may put a little bit of that in a future video, but we'll see what happens. All right, folks, I think we're going to wrap this video up for this evening. How do you like the headlight? It's pretty cool, isn't it? A little strip of LEDs. Picked that up at O'Reilly. That really came in handy. They had some others down there that, you know, just had the single light, and you press the button multiple times, and it went to red, and then a flashing red. And I'm like, why do I even need that? Who needs that? I'm not going to be on the side of the road with me. It's not going to happen. So this thing is just multi-levels of brightness of just regular light for working. It's fantastic. Highly recommend it. All right, folks, that's all for now. Appreciate you guys stopping by the channel. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And if you'd like to be notified whenever I release a new video, don't forget to click that little bell down below. You guys have a good one, and remember to enjoy restoring your classic C3 Corvette.